Light four figures.
Anyways, I guess my thing is, no matter how tragic something is, what would destroying the historical artifact actually do? Does it erase what happened? Does it make it better? No.
Were you there when it happened? Is my other question.
Yeah, it's like, were you there when it happened? Is it like traumatic to you? Or, it's like, the answer is no. So it's like, if you keep that noose, for example, did the hanging of that man not take place anymore and all of a sudden it's better? No. So what's the point?
Right.
And that's my same opinion with like Auschwitz. It's my same opinion with anything. It's like, what's the point? Like, in fact, I think it'd be better if we kept it, because now we can actually go to Auschwitz, look around, get sad, and see what happened here and be like, wow, this sucks.
And Arnold Schwarzenegger can drop some Terminator puns.
He can drop some Terminator pun. If we destroyed Auschwitz, we want to get those.
Right, exactly.
So, like, can he go? What if he dropped? What if he went to the location of the hanging of the Dakota 38 in Minnesota and dropped some Terminator puns?
This is the site where they were terminated.
It's like, hey, Arnold, not the time, man. Like,
I have to be honest. If I was there, I would have stopped it. I saved John Connor more than once. I'd do it again. Arnold.
Oh, hey, the black
cool.
knife. Okay, that's cool.
Wait, do you remember these guys? These are the ones that were hired by Ronnie to overthrow the gods.
Oh, that's kind of
cool.
Or
the demigods. That's at least my understanding of it. Let's see. Well, the black knife hood should be easy to find. It's literally just a hood. The assassins that carried out the deeds of the Knight of the Black Knives were all women.
Oh.
And rumored to be Newman, who had close ties to America herself. That's cool. Can you look and just see, like, I know, Jay, you should figure it out yourself. It's a puzzle. You should figure out where the things are to light. I understand, but we've been playing this game for 89 and a half hours.
Right.
I'd like to just know what to do.
Do you want to see where these 4 things are?
Yes.
Okay, what is this place called?
Ola
Thank you.
Ordina.
Okay, Lortina 4 lights puzzle or something?
Ordina, liturgical town, light 4 things. Here, it says.
So maybe, wait, are these like blue torches, one of them?
I don't know. I don't know what I'm supposed to light, but somebody put here to go up this ladder. Okay. So I'm assuming that this tower might be one of the things? Is it like that one where
it's towers, so yeah, this probably is it.
Okay, well, there's 4 of them, so they're not twins.
Okay.
Why can't I talk to this person?
I don't know.
What do you do here?
So go... Remember that area where there was that big blue circle thing in the ground?
Yeah?
Go there. Because you have to enter into that world. Which I guess alters this world somehow. And then I think you have to go back to those towers after you go into that blue circle.
Okay. So I have to find a way back up.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, this is a thing I don't have. Okay, well, alright. Okay, well, we got no turning radius on that horse.
Oh, you want to turn? You want to do like a big loop?
Yeah, I want to do a huge loop.
Like, I just want to do a turn.
Nope. Alright, so we'll go up here, and then I don't know how to get back up there.
Jump up there. And then jump to there, maybe? Okay. Yeah, so enter into there.
Didn't even know I could.
Enter the Ever goal. And then
let's go light them up. I'm on fire.
Let's see.
There's one over here.
Yeah. Yeah, so you have to go up to those towers. There's 4 towers. 2 sets of twin towers you have to light.
So, did you have more to say about the Native Americans and why you would like them to return their historical artifacts to us?
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like, give them over. What are you still holding on to them for?
And we'd like the noose back. Oh, yeah? Yeah? Well, we'd like your ancient spearheads.
Right.
They're not in a glass case, so you must not be protecting them.
What about we do a trade?
Yeah, how about we
You give us your
beads.
land. No, I'm kidding.
Here's some beads.
So do you... What about some furs?
We went to the same exact joke. It's fine. In about 200 years, they'll get the rights to casinos, so they'll be good. That's how they justified it. Oh no, oh no, oh no.
Oh,
no,
great.
Oh no, oh no, oh no.
You're about to die. You are... Oh, why was there a second sniper?
I don't know. That's literally what the FBI asked when
Why?
JFK went down. Why was there a second sniper? That makes this way harder to explain.
We're doing like the...
I don't know, Oswald.
The snipers here. The Anne Orlando. The On Orlando.
So, did you have anything else to say?
Well, okay.
Is there one historical artifact you wish that they would give the Historical Society?
No.
No?
No.
Why? Because you don't want to get in trouble?
Yeah.
Okay. But if you weren't going to get in trouble, you don't have to tell me what it is. Is there a historical artifact you know that a Native American tribe has somewhere that you would like the white historical society to have?
The white historical...
You already started laughing, so I know you thought of something.
Yeah. Yeah, there is something.
Okay. All right. And do you have a justification for why?
My justification is because it's cool, and I love history, so that's the only reason.
Okay.
It's just because I like it.
It's not because they can't handle it.
No, it's
Okay.
it's just because I like history,
Right.
and I find history interesting.
Okay. All right. You've escaped by the
that's it.
skin of your teeth
That's it.
this time.
That's all there is to it.
I have to make sure this is still lit.
Okay.
Like, for all I know, this stopped vaping.
So,
Not very lit anymore.
so I was going to tell you something really cool, actually.
Was it the
speaking
historical
of-
artifact that you want?
No, speaking of World War II, actually,
Okay, no one was talking about that.
we were,
Okay.
because you were here like praising AH, and I was like telling you to please stop because I'm not that kind of a person.
That was off camera, first off. And
Okay.
secondly, you said me too. Last I checked, that doesn't mean stop.
Oh.
Well, I mean, it does if you say it 30 years later.
Right. By the way, you're gonna die from...
We're really going all out here today. Oh no! Ah!
What is with these snipers here?
I don't know. Look how many arrows I have in me.
So anyways, like I was gonna say, is I've been reading about Dwight Eisenhower. And one thing I found interesting is after the Allies, with Eisenhower being like the supreme commander of the Allied forces, after they liberated Europe of Germany, Eisenhower and Stalin were basically camped out in Berlin because they had agreed to occupy certain parts of the German zone. Truman had visited... Whoa, geez, this guy's like invisible. So I think this might be the area that the online was talking about with like very challenging enemies. I think it might be like this and on. Anyways, Truman, Churchill, and Stalin had agreed to meet in a German town right outside Berlin called Potsdam, and basically have a conference to kind of be like, well, what do we do with post-World War II Europe? Basically, like, how do we get Germany back to Germany again? Well, at this Potsdam conference is when Secretary of State Henry Stimson informed Eisenhower of the successful tests of the nuclear bombs in New Mexico. And this was in July of 1945. And he basically told them, we're going to be dropping these bombs on Japan. Now, the first bomb dropped in August 9th, so it's only like a couple weeks later.
Right.
And this was the first time Eisenhower had ever even heard of the nuclear bombs. This was his introduction into the bombs.
Right. He was not the president that approved development.
The president was Franklin Roosevelt, and then Harry Truman finished it. But this was Eisenhower's introduction to it. They were basically saying, like, we want to end the war in Japan. This is our plan on doing it. And what I found very interesting was Eisenhower was very, very adamant to them about not using the bombs.
Like ever.
Yeah, he actually was a very big opponent against the nuclear bombs because he basically told them, well, Japan's already surrendered, so one, what's the point of this? Which he's correct. I mean, Japan had basically already surrendered at this point. So he told them, like, what's the point of using these? And the second reason he said is, why are we making the United States the first country to basically cross this line? Like, this is like a borderline war crime here. And why is the U.S. being the first ones to use this?
Right, how is this good for us?
Yeah, like you're opening the door, is kind of what he told them. You're opening the door for other countries to use the atomic bomb in the future. So why are we, the United States, doing this? Like, this is kind of an atrocity against humanity. Once you do this, you can't go back, is what he told them. But right. he wasn't the commander, and he had no say in this.
How come? I thought he was the president.
Eisenhower?
Well, who are you talking about? Eisenhower.
I'm talking about Eisenhower, but this is when Eisenhower was the supreme commander of the Allied forces.
But didn't he become the president?
He became president in 1953. This was in 45.
Oh,
so Harry Truman was president at the time.
Got it. Okay, I understand.
So he had no say in this, and he wasn't even the general on the Pacific Front. That was Douglas MacArthur. Douglas MacArthur also kind of told them, like, well, I'm fine using the atomic bombs, but we don't need to use them. We can just develop an invasion force of Japan, is what Douglas MacArthur kind of told Harry Truman. But anyways, I find it interesting his response basically saying, like, well, why are we the ones to use the atomic bombs first? It just opens that curtain for other countries to use it, one. But then when he was president, he was actually presented with the option to use the atomic bomb twice. The first time was actually in Korea, and then he was also presented with the option to use it in China.
And he said no to
And
both.
he was adamantly opposed to using the atomic bombs both times. Like, he basically said, no, we're not dropping those.
Do you think it's good that he didn't?
I think it's very good that he didn't. Because he basically said, we're not dropping these bombs, we can just beat them normally. We're not going to use these weapons.
However, do you think... Wow. I don't know why my mouth did that.
You think...
Do you think that the world would be less close to World War III right now if he had used it on China?
Like, if we set them back, like, a few hundred years?
Yeah, because of Taiwan and everything. Everything happening right now in real time.
Right.
Like,
I do think...
They're allegedly planning to invade Taiwan at some point.
Which probably would spark a World War III, because we're allies with Taiwan. And...
Right.
I do think... Yes,
this is just
no.
a statistical question. This is not like, do you agree with the murderer?
Right. I think yes, because I think it would set them back a few hundred years. But on the same note, the atomic bombs actually probably helped Japan, and I can't believe I'm saying that. But Japan, before 1945, when the bombs got dropped on them, Japan had just gone under like a 40-year rapid industrial revolution in their country. Mm-hmm. Where they went from basically the samurai era to modern history in 40 years. Mm-hmm. Then the atomic bombs dropped on them, then they went through about a 10-year rebuilding period after it. But then they went from now being like now today, like in 2022, they're in like the industrial top end of the world. Mm-hmm.
So technological.
Yeah, technologically.
Can I tell you
speaking.
too, by the way, speaking of this is a fact most people don't know. I'm sure you did. By the way, have you seen any other places? I guess that's one. A fact that most people don't know or aren't willing to talk about or whatever. The Japanese government refused to warn their people about that. Did you know that?
Yeah, they did. They did.
The U.S. contacted... I never knew this until probably about a month ago.
Yeah.
The U.S. contacted the Japanese government and said, hey, we're going to drop massive attacks on your cities.
Right.
You should probably not have civilians there. They told them that.
Yeah.
And they didn't tell anyone. They just were like, oh...
I think it's kind of a mixture between... I think it's a mixture of mainly, we don't think that they're actually going to do this, and also, yeah, I'd like to see you try.
Right. And they did try.
Which both ideas are kind of stupid.
Well, yeah, because I guarantee you the people who didn't tell the civilians weren't in town.
Right? No, they weren't.
So, like,
No, they were sitting in their bunker in Tokyo at the time.
yeah. So I don't know. I found that. I don't want to say like really cool. No, it's like a fascinating little fact I never knew anything about.
Yeah.
Is all.
Right. So, I don't know. I mean, if we dropped it on China, would China have undergone the same technological advancements that Japan did? I don't think they would have, because you also have the factor in China of communism that you did not have in Japan. For instance, in 1949, Mao Zedong took over China. He kicked out Chiang Kai-shek and established the People's Republic of China.
Okay.
So...
Whoops.
Whoa, what was that?
I accidentally punched.
Oh. So, would the Chinese aspect of the Chinese government not allowed for that rapid development in their civilization? I don't know.
Or would it have crumbled because they would have lost faith in it?
Yeah, maybe it would have done that, too.
That partially happened to Japan as well, where, like,
now?
they, their government didn't collapse, but, like, there was all the stuff around their emperor and all the stuff, you know.
Right.
I mean, there was a lot of turmoil around their government at the time, and especially post that.
Right.
Now, what's sad is that if you go to Japan, a lot of the history isn't taught.
No.
The history there that's taught about World War II is, yeah, and then they bombed our cities. What the fuck, man?
Right.
That's what's taught. Not, okay, well, we also launched suicide attackers to their nation first.
Yep.
Like, they don't talk about that. I'm sure there are people who do.
Right. I'm sure it's not censored like it would be in China.
But it's not promoted.
No.
And if you go around telling people about that, they're going to get mad at you.
Right.
And not believe you. So, like, it's one of those things. It would be like, you know, like the modern day, like, stories and I don't want to say stories, but like knowledge that's actually shared about the Native Americans and what happened with them.
Yeah.
It would be like if you tried to share that 150 years ago.
Right.
People would be like, okay, well, like, who cares? And that didn't even happen. Like, you just wouldn't be believed. Whereas now the pendulum's gone so far the other way where, like, it's like they are the ultimate victims.
Right.
And, like, they did nothing wrong. And, like, you can't talk at all about, like, some of the war crimes that certain tribes committed too.
Right.
Like the Blackfoot tribe, for example, that did a lot of really bad shit.
The what? We don't talk about that.
Like, you can't talk about that now. Well, like, Japan is kind of like nationalist in that way, where I understand why they want to be the good guy. Like, everybody wants to be the good guy in their own history.
Right.
But there's some disingenuous stories with what happened in World War II specifically.
Yeah, there's a lot of propaganda on both sides. And with World War II specifically, and you even see this in, like, the Allies too, like, there's a lot of propaganda in, like, the Soviet Union with stuff of, like, oh, well, we survived Stalingrad, like, the victory at Stalingrad was, you know, like, some miraculous nationalistic heroism, right? Which I agree it was. But they morph that into, like, the Soviet Union was this, like, perfect country that, look at us, we survived this deadly assault from, you know, the evil German guy who sieged our city for 6 months, and we lost 350,000 civilians just in this city alone. But we powered through, and we took it to them, you know?
Right.
So, like, the Soviet Union thinks they're the good guys, but to be honest, I would argue, like, yeah, the Soviet Union was our allies.
They didn't want to be, though.
No, like, I don't trust Stalin.
Well, they literally sided with, oh, no. Do you see the giant ant?
No. Oh, okay.
They literally sided with the bad guy from Germany, and then the only reason that they went back on that was because they got betrayed.
I know. So
you really think that they wanted to be in that position?
Right.
Like, no.
No, like, they were angry that they got betrayed. So therefore Stalin was like, okay, well, I'll help Britain and the United States. Because I'm mad I got invaded. So...
These are so disgusting.
They are pretty disgusting. So, I don't know. And then, like, the United States does the same thing, too. Like, in World War II, when I was reading about Eisenhower and his being Supreme Commander or whatever, there was times where even against the British, he strategically placed certain field commanders in certain areas because he wanted certain people to get the credit. Like, for example, Bernard Montgomery, who was Eisenhower's field commander during World War II, from the invasion of Normandy all the way up to the liberation of Paris. Bernard Montgomery was the field commander, which basically meant he was in charge of the troops, right? Eisenhower was the supreme commander, so he was in charge of all, like, the politics and everything. And then Montgomery was, like, the guy actually on the ground, right? Mm-hmm. So, after Paris happened, after they liberated Paris, Eisenhower took over the duties of the field commander.
You see the stingers on these?
I did. They're really creepy. He took over those duties, and he basically then moved Bernard Montgomery to be in charge of the 21st British Division, and then sent Montgomery north into, like, Holland and the Netherlands, and eventually into, like, Norway and Denmark. Mm-hmm. And then he took Omar Bradley, and Patton. Bradley was the American in charge of the 1st U.S. Army, and Patton was in charge of the 3rd U.S. Army. And he took the two of them, and his plan was basically, well, let's have these two invade the southern part of Germany, so then they could go through, like, Frankfurt and then eventually into Berlin. Well, why did he do that? Well, he did that because he wanted Omar Bradley and George Patton, essentially Americans, getting the credit for liberating Berlin. He was adamant about not putting in Montgomery to be the commander in Berlin. And then when Stalin marched his 1.6 million troops outside of... Oh, this is kind of cool. When he marched his 1.6 million troops through Poland and landed 30 miles outside Berlin...
Wait, read this.
If only I had a lover, except could this be... So he marched 1.6 million troops out of Poland, 30 miles outside Berlin. Eisenhower sent his deputy, Lieutenant Tedder, over there and basically told him, wait for us.
The fact that you have this all memorized is very impressive.
I'm currently reading about this, and presidential history is my favorite historical subject.
Yeah, I just find it very interesting that you can remember all this. I can barely remember my mom's birthday.
Right. So anyway, so he sent him outside and basically told Stalin, like, wait a minute, like, wait for us. We wanna have our armies there too, so we can launch one final assault on Bad Man from Germany. So then he doesn't, like, defeat us, was, like, his reasoning. My own headcanon is basically, well, whoever marches their army into Berlin gets the credit for beating Germany.
Right.
And I don't want Stalin's 1.6 million troops being the ones to march into Berlin first. So it's like you see all this propaganda on both sides.
Stalin was willing to wait, by the way.
Yes, I mean, Stalin loved Eisenhower.
He did?
Yeah, he loved him.
Then why did he hate America?
In fact, after the war, after they liberated... Well, he hated America because of what followed after this. It's because of the allies with Britain, Churchill especially, and America started going into all, like, their side, like, well, we're the empire now, and then they got into fights about the zoning of Germany and stuff like that, where Stalin didn't want to give up his land, because this is one of the other problems too. But anyways, Stalin invited Eisenhower after they liberated Germany into Russia, and he was bringing him into areas that no other foreigners were even able to get into, like giving him an extended tour of the Kremlin. He brought him on top of Lenin's, like, mausoleum.
Wow.
Which, for a foreigner at that time, very unheard of. You know, that you get to actually go into the mausoleum here. This was not a thing. Jeez.
This guy's, like, massive.
So he was bringing him to parties, receptions, everything. Like, he loved Eisenhower. Mm-hmm. And he also loved Franklin Roosevelt. Stalin did, too. So, I don't know, it's interesting.
I always found it sad that America wasn't willing to put the effort in to be allies with Russia.
Yeah.
Because I kind of think Russia could have... This sounds really patronizing. I think Russia could have turned out to be a lot better, and America could have turned out to be a lot better, if the two had worked together instead of hating each other.
Well, and that's the exact thing that Eisenhower told Truman after his visit to Russia, as he literally said, I think we would be better off of a country if we worked with Stalin. because, and Stalin even asked him, Stalin even told him, like, well, I want the American scientists, basically. I want them to come to Russia because I want to learn from you guys. I want to know how... Jeez.
Oh, well, I guess I lost all my souls. That's awesome.
He's like, I want to know how you were able to get this industrial revolution to build all these tanks and everything so quickly. I want to learn that. He said, I want to learn your ways in medicine and stuff like that. Like
sex.
Yeah, sex. Like he wanted an alliance with America. He wanted to have mutual help. Stalin did.
Right.
And the thing is, after Stalin died in 1953, Nikita Khrushchev took over as the leader of the Soviet Union, and Nikita Khrushchev wanted to basically de-Stalinize the country.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he understood that Stalin committed a lot of war crimes himself.
Well, so when did Stalin commit those? Was it before or after the visits from,
Like Eisenhower stuff?
Yeah.
During.
During.
Before, after, yeah. Like, all throughout his reign. It's just he was kind of hiding it.
Do you think that... Obviously, he was a bad guy.
Right.
For those things. Do you think that his country, Russia...
Jeez.
What in the world, dude? Like, what am I supposed to do here? Do you think that his country would have been more moral over the course of its history if it had had a alliance with America?
I think so. Because especially after he died, Khrushchev wanted to get away from all those. Like, Khrushchev is the one that was ending all these policies of like, well, maybe you don't need to be sent to the gulag because I don't like you. And stuff like that. I mean, he was the one that
hold on.
Right.
That was not a bad policy.
No, that was fine. No, he was the one that was ending all that stuff and trying to bring Russia or the Soviet Union out of this era of oppression. Now, was Khrushchev a perfect leader? No, but he at least was trying to help the people of Russia and trying to modernize the country and basically saying, well, let's try to bring our country out of this era.
Do you have a favorite Khrushchev quote? Because I do.
No.
My favorite was, "The oppression of the Sith cannot be allowed to return."
That is actually my favorite quote. Thank you for bringing that up. So I feel like, especially with Khrushchev, I feel like the country, meaning the Soviet Union and the United States, could have been allies. And I feel like we could have been successful allies.
Yeah.
So...
I feel like the U.S. would be a more moral country, too, if it had had more allies that had more influence on it.
Yeah, I think so, too.
Because
you're about to get
I would argue that the U.S. has lost a lot of its moral core.
Yeah, I would agree.
Item.
Yeah, I would agree. It's kind of a shame.
And I don't want that to be true.
No.
I think it is.
Is there a site of grace somewhere quickly here?
I don't know. I'm doing my best.
Maybe there's one down there? Because I feel like there should be a site of grace. We've run pretty far.
Well, what if it was...
Oh, wait, there! And I should probably leave after this.
Okay.
But anyways, yeah, I just find it interesting. I find the history of World War II and post-World War II very interesting because Eisenhower, well, he has some faults. Because I'm currently reading about him right now, I'm very quickly loving the guy.
Right.
Like, I'm very quickly realizing, like, this was a great person.
So,
not just as a general, but also as a president later on, too.
Since you're reading every president biography,
Yep.
When will you read the President Xi Jinping biography and also President Saddam Hussein?
I'm reading the best two for last.
Okay, you're saving.
So that's what I'm doing.
So which order? Saddam or Xi? Which one's better?
Xi Jinping's my favorite. Please don't kill me, Xi Jinping. Definitely my favorite.
He's my favorite too. I love the guy.
Right.
What does this Black Knight remember look